Welcome back to part 2 of What If Ahsoka Never Saved Tarkin. Thank you for your support on the first part of this video. To recap what happened in that video if you haven't seen it, Tarkin had died at the hands of Osi Sobeck on the planet of Lola Sayu. The death of the Admiral had halted the progress of Palpatine's plans for the construction of the Death Star, and he had appointed Anakin to represent the Republic military. As a result, Ahsoka never went on trial for the bombing of the Jedi Temple, as they had found Barriss early into her betrayal of Ahsoka and the Jedi Order. Now the newly anointed Master and Knight celebrate their rise through the ranks of the Jedi and think of a way to defeat the Sith. After they had received their respective promotions, Anakin and Ahsoka ambled from the steps of the temple with Obi-Wan, and together they enter into a speeder to go to the apartment of Senator Amidala. To their surprise, Padme had organised a small gathering to celebrate their promotions, alongside of some of the clones and senators, but as with most events Anakin had been involved in, events did not proceed as he had foreseen. For once in his life, he had actually followed the suggestions of Obi-Wan to observe his surroundings, and to his disgust, he found Senator Clovis growing closer to Senator Amidala. The Jedi Master silently gestured for his Padawan to cause a disturbance, and Ahsoka used the Force to lift the senators in the air, accidentally cutting off the power supply. But once the lights had been turned on, the occupants of the room gasped, as some of their contemporaries had vanished. The Jedi ignite their blades in caution, and Anakin and the clones lead the senators to the safety of the Jedi Temple, as Ahsoka and Obi-Wan begin to investigate the disappearance of a number of high-profile politicians. The Jedi noticed that a window had been left open by the assailant, but they must have had some kind of help from one of the attendants to alert them of the power cut. Ahsoka goes through Padme's datapad to uncover the list of guests, and curiously, the number of clones did not match the number that had been inside the room, as seen from the security footage. The Jedi leave the investigation in the apartment to the Coruscant Underworld Police, and rush off back to the temple, and begin to search the clones. One of them attempts to sneak off, but the Jedi pursue the fugitive into the streets of Coruscant. To their shock, they ignite a couple of red blades and attacks them at speed. The Jedi are forced to retreat from this dark side entity and head back to help the local police force of Padme's apartment. Anakin is full of concern at the safety of Padme and the other senators, and is immediately suspicious of Clovis, so barges into his apartment on Coruscant. Anakin's instincts had been correct again, as the senator had been talking to Dooku, and he used the Force to crush the holotable in front of him, then lift the traitor into the air. Clovis pleads with Anakin to let him explain the situation, and the voice of his master from behind him encourages him to drop him to the floor. The Senate of Scipio reveals they have been offered by Dooku to capture some of the Republic senators, in return for a favourable rise in interest rates for his banking clan, and he used his previous relations with Padme to receive an invite to the gathering. But before the identity of the fugitive could be revealed, a dart from outside penetrated the chest of Clovis, and he slumped to his desk. Anakin leapt outside and onto a passing speeder, as Obi-Wan walked to the turbo lift and descended to the bottom floor and ordered his clones to lay a trap. The 212th Battalion surround the perimeter of the district, and as Anakin dislodged the boot of the attacker, the clones trapped them in a large shield, revealing that he had been the Duros bounty hunter Cad Bane. The Jedi thought that they had previously successfully apprehended him, but they had not been alerted to his release from the Republic military base. Anakin uses his position at the head of the military to transfer Bane to his previous confinement, and bringing in a group of Jedi, begins his interrogation. The mind of the bounty hunter is resistant to the Jedi attacks, but they manage to discover they have been employed by Darth Sidious, whom Obi-Wan had heard from the start of the Clone War from his capture on Geonosis. The Jedi Master deduces that the lightsaber-wielding duelist that had attacked them must have been this mysterious Sidious, and Anakin is frustrated that they let him escape. Returning to the temple, the council dispatched most of themselves to find the lost senators, as outside of the temple, the population of Coruscant was once again protesting over the Jedi's failures. As the other Jedi entered into their Republic cruisers, Anakin and Ahsoka decided to head to the underworld, and there they managed to track down the former Sith Asajj Ventress. The Dathomirian hated Dooku as much as the Jedi, but did not have much to offer, other than the location of several key Separatist bases, and that had been when Anakin had a brainwave. The Jedi Master's mind instinctively turned to the past, and the death of Tarkin on the horrible planet of Lola Sayu. The Citadel was still active and torturing prisoners, so the three of them go to the planet in a bid to rescue the senators, or fall into Dooku's trap. That is if a part 2 of What If Ahsoka Never Saved Tarkin. If you'd like to see a part 3 soon, please like this video, turn on that notification bell, click that subscribe button on this channel, as well as on my other channel What If Films. And as always, leave a comment on what if you'd all like to see next, and how I can improve my videos. Thank you all very much for watching, and see you next time.